All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our next session. I'm Matthew Cummings from Pretentious Glass Company and a member of the Mayor's Maker Council. Next up, we have Hannah Lee and Jess Vossler from Second Mile Marketing, and they're going to talk to us and teach us how to up our digital marketing game. All right, everybody, welcome Hannah and Jess.
Woo! All right. Hi, guys. I'm Hannah.
Hi, I'm Jess.
And we are super excited to talk to you guys about how to, like he said, up your digital marketing game. So yeah, thanks for joining us this afternoon. Jess, I'm going to let you pull up our presentation and we'll get started.
Awesome. Should be up there. Can you guys see it?
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Cool. Jess, I'm going to let you steer the presentation. And with that, let's dive into Marketing 201. Hopefully you guys all got to join our good friend Austin for Digital Marketing 101 yesterday. Today we're going to be taking a little bit of a deeper dive. This is kind of an outline of where we're going. We're going to be spending a ton of time talking about website traffic, which I know everyone is excited and anxious to hear about. So before that, would love to just introduce ourselves. Like we said, I'm Hannah Lee. I am the CEO and co-founder of Second Mile Marketing with Jess. We like to joke around here that I am the wow to Jess's how. And all that means is that I come up with big, shiny ideas and Jess either puts them into place or more often than not, shoots them right down. So if you are a creative person, I definitely recommend getting a how to your wow. With that, I'll kick it over to our how person.
Hey guys, I'm Jess Vossler. I'm Hannah's co-founder. I am the CMO at Second Mile Marketing. And so I oversee kind of all of our client digital marketing efforts. So I'm really excited to be here with you guys today. And thank you so much for spending some time with us. I know everyone's time is super valuable, so I'm really grateful that you're here and hopefully you will have some good takeaways.
Perfect. So again, just a little bit more about us. You're probably wondering, who are these people? A lot of times people ask us, how did we decide to start Second Mile Marketing? And Second Mile is a boutique digital marketing agency driven by relationships and focused on results. And Jess and I actually aren't strangers to building things from scratch. We were both part of an inaugural Division I lacrosse program at Jacksonville University, where unbeknownst to us, we were actually laying the foundation for our co-founder chemistry on the lacrosse field. So people are always like, how do I start a business? I say, I don't know, you need to go play Division I sports, I guess, is the best answer for that. After we went our separate ways post-grad, Jess actually got her MBA and then started working in marketing, and I pursued a career in social media, advertising. Coincidentally, again, not planned at all, we actually both left our swanky marketing and advertising jobs feeling a little disillusioned with the industry in general. Like, why did clients have to be treated like a number? And do you really have to sacrifice relationships in the name of results? Things like that kind of got us stirring and having conversations. And we actually decided to combine our freelance clients that Jess was working on after she left her job and mine after I left my job, and Second Mile Marketing was born. The name has served us really well over the past almost 4 years. We're turning 4 years old in just a couple weeks, and it has allowed us to go above and beyond for our partners. We have worked with higher education institutions to international B2B companies, all the way to over 40 quick service restaurants. It's been our honor and privilege to not only help our clients grow, but also help our team grow. What started with just me and Jess once upon a time now has 8 employees, and it's been a fantastic ride. So enough about us, though. Let's talk about you guys. I would love for each of you to just throw into the general chat here. What are some of the words that come to mind when you think about digital marketing? or more specifically, your digital marketing? And we'll give you guys a couple of minutes or a couple seconds here to put some thoughts in the chat pane. Ah, yes. We're seeing overwhelming. Okay.
Time consuming.
You guys are definitely in the right spot. We're going to be talking about
Too many.
and personalization. So you're in the right spot.
Inauthentic.
Time consuming, inauthentic. Ooh. Big learning curve. Confusing. All right. Definitely feel free to keep throwing your digital, all of the above. Yes, you're in the right. We call that a retweet, like, favorite. Yeah, we're gonna repost all of this. So that's really helpful for us to know as we kind of guide this conversation. Our goal for this presentation is that you leave here with some key takeaways that will simplify the marketing process for you, but also help you grow your business. So if anything, you have probably learned that digital marketing is so important right now. And this is a great time for us to hone our digital marketing skills, honestly, kind of out of necessity, right? COVID-19 has really forced a lot of things virtually and digitally. Hello, that's how we're all here today. And if digital marketing wasn't an important part of your business and strategy before COVID-19, it's probably made its way to the forefront as an even more essential area and way for you to connect with your customers, and that's online. So as we've seen, because of COVID-19, social media engagement rates have increased, time spent online has increased. That's where people are having to go to connect with brands or things or information that they need the most. And this is a time for you to really capitalize on that. But again, it can feel really overwhelming. So let's go ahead and dive in and kind of start unpacking digital marketing on a deeper level. So you're going to hear Jess and I say the words inbound marketing a lot. Not just any type of digital marketing is going to work. Just because more people are spending time online doesn't necessarily mean that you and your company are going to be able to connect with them. Users are actually a lot savvier and more swift, and they don't have time to get disruptive messages and unrelated content. Taking an inbound approach helps increase the effectiveness of your digital marketing efforts. And again, you're going to hear us talk about the word inbound a lot. The inbound methodology is simply the method of growing your business by building meaningful, lasting relationships with consumers, prospects, and customers. It's about valuing and empowering these people to reach their goals, whatever those goals are, at any stage of their buyer's journey with you. So you'll hear us talk about inbound and a lot. Okay, full screen presentation button. Jess, do you see that?
No.
Oh, I think that's for our chat people. All right, if you want this presentation to get bigger, definitely press the full presentation. I was like, oh no, can they not see it? All right, so that is inbound marketing. We at Second Mile Marketing have found inbound to be the most effective way to connect with your customers. So everything that we're talking about the rest of this presentation is going to be with an inbound approach in mind. Using inbound marketing turns your strangers into customers and then promoters, or what we like to call sometimes raving fans of your business. So how that happens is this flywheel approach that you're going to see here. It's by attracting strangers through helpful, relevant, and humanistic content. I know someone earlier said that digital marketing can often feel inauthentic. The inbound approach is all about being a human and connecting with other real people. It engages your prospects through automation and personalization. Those are our two favorite things, by converting them into customers. Jess likes to say automation without personalization is called what?
Spam.
Spam. We don't want spam in our marketing, right? So we want to take a seamless and frictionless experience that delights your potential customers and turns them into promoters of your brand through things like automation, personalization, and staying humanistic. The inbound methodology is honestly best represented by this. I love the spam over here. Yuck.
Yeah.
No one wants that.
Hate spam.
Yep. So the inbound methodology is best represented by this flywheel that we have up here. By applying pressure and reducing friction at any stage of this flywheel, we're able to generate more leads, prospects, convert at a better rate, and increase our chances of them enjoying their experience and purchasing from us again. So again, that's attracting, engaging, and delighting those strangers by turning them into prospects, ultimately customers, and then promoters of your brand. So what are some of the ways that we can do that attract, engage, and delight? Here are just some of the tactics that support each aspect of the flywheel. You actually may have been implementing some areas of inbound methodology into your digital marketing without even realizing it. Today, we might just be giving you a helpful framework and context for some of those inbound marketing tactics. Or you might be realizing, wow, I haven't been doing any inbound marketing. What are some small areas that I can start? We'll take a deeper dive into each of these areas throughout the rest of our time together. We'll definitely be spending a lot of time on traffic. So it has blog content, SEO, social media. We want to turn that traffic into leads through things like landing pages, forums, and if you ever see us say CTAs, that means calls to action. Doing things like email nurturing and personalized content offers is what helps turn those prospects into customers. And then we are big fans of data and reporting. You don't know what's working if you aren't taking time to see what's working, right? So setting things like key performance indicators, running things like customer surveys, and then obviously optimizing based on the reports that you're seeing. That is a huge part of the inbound approach. So to get things started, we want to make sure that we actually know our customers, right? The inbound approach centers on providing human and helpful content. If we don't know who those humans are, we can't help them. So do you know your customers? Do you really know your customers? Not just what you think they need, but do you know where they shop, what they're scared of, what frustrates them, what some of their pain points are in life? If you put your customers and their needs at the center of everything you do and take time to develop what we call these buyer personas. So we've got Danny Dad, CEO Chelsea, Small Town Sarah up here. These are semi-fictional representations of your ideal customer, and having a deep understanding of who those people are allows you to better and more quickly and efficiently speak to their needs. And a lot of that centers around the type of content that you produce. So the content that you produce should speak to their needs, should help them along in that process. And we'll dive into content here in a minute. Taking just a second to switch over. There. Oh, Jess, you got a little click happy, but that's okay. All right. So hopefully everybody here has some type of digital format or presence, whether that's a website, an Instagram page. If you know, content is king. So you don't want to be creating content just for the sake of content, whether that's an Instagram post or a piece of blog content. Your content needs to, one, serve a purpose, and two, that purpose needs to speak to your customers' needs. You want to think through creating highly searchable content that your buyer personas are likely to Google. Think about blog content like best Knoxville locally made Valentine's gifts if you're a jewelry store, or top 5 outdoor adventures in Knoxville if you're a paddleboard rental company. Now, those are obviously really Knoxville specific, but you can keep going out past that. Providing people, especially your buyer personas, with free downloads, videos, blog content drives this traffic to your website or your Instagram page and helps make you more discoverable, helpful, and establishes that trust and authority that we're looking for online. So you might be thinking, that sounds great. I would love to make some content. How do I do that? It starts with a plan. So Benjamin Franklin once said, failure to plan is planning to fail. If you don't plan your content, it's not gonna happen. Like if you could raise your hand on the chat, like how many times have you been sitting there being like, oh no, it's Tuesday, 9:15 a.m. I'm supposed to have an Instagram post go out. By planning and batching all of that content together, it's going to be so much more helpful and relevant. And the best way for things to be helpful and relevant is for them to actually get out the door. So create a content calendar and keep your customers' purchasing habits, your sales cycle, and any relevant holidays or dates and themes that come to mind. Here is kind of just an example of a content calendar. So again, you're gonna wanna make this full screen. You don't need to see me. I'm just moving my hands and my face around. Zoom in on that content calendar. And this is an example of one of the content calendars that we have. If you need help with something like this, please let us know. We'd be happy to send you a content calendar template. For our clients, we like to use something as simple as a Google spreadsheet. And so combined with social media publishers. So we're able to think about a piece of hero or long form. Yes, we will definitely send you the content calendar template. Hero or long form content, something like a blog or a downloadable PDF. That's what you want to think about as your hero content. You can do that once a month. You can do that once a week, depending on how often you're providing content. But that's kind of where we start from. And then from there, we figure out how to repurpose that content into bite-sized consumable pieces for different social media platforms. You guys, you don't have to be making a different piece of content every single day for every single different type of platform. Start small, AKA with one big piece, and then figure out how you can reuse, repurpose, recycle, re-promote across all of those different channels. You'll see here that we have, like I was saying, that long form piece of content, and then the social media, different pieces of copy and channels that we're promoting it on. And eventually this content calendar also starts to get built out with advertising flight dates. You'll see on here are newsletters or any type of lead nurturing campaigns. We put everything on this content calendar so that it's consistent, cohesive, and also gives us the ability, once we run reporting, to retroactively look back in one kind of streamlined view and see what went well, what didn't go well. The main thing to keep in mind with your content, people need to be told what to do. They want to know what to do next. So you need to have some type of call to action, whether it's downloading, clicking, liking, sharing, or even just thinking, right? That can be a call to action. You want your customers to leave with some type of takeaway. So again, we will definitely send you guys this content calendar, but that's really some of the main things to keep in mind when it comes to creating content.
So once you've got your content dialed in, you really need to think about the next phase of your website, which would be how your buyer personas are moving throughout your site. So great content really is only as good as a great inventory and a really messy storefront. So you want to make sure you're keeping your site design simple and streamlined, and you're mapping your ideal persona's journey throughout your site and really focusing on maximizing conversion points. So conversion points are huge and something that often is kind of an afterthought for folks. So we really advise thinking about 1 to 3 important conversion points for your business that roll up to your ultimate business goals. Is it email subscribers that you're looking to generate, purchases, requesting a demo, content downloads, or just getting people to put something in the shopping cart? Once you figure out what your key 1 to 3 conversion points are, then you want to make sure that conversion points are easily accessible on every page of your site. And you also want to make sure that those conversion points are aligned with the content that's on each page. Your conversion points should lead into a form that would be part of your CRM. So a CRM is just a fancy place to house data around your customers. It's a customer relationship management system. We love HubSpot, but there are tons. MailChimp kind of has a CRM component, Salesforce, but it's a really great way to keep track of your customers. It's important to set up your lead captures in terms of the places in which the buyer is within your funnel. So thinking about the top of your funnel, that would be kind of where your customers are just getting familiar with you, and maybe it's a kind of a lower level entry point. So maybe thinking about creating some forms at the top of the funnel that are just asking for some bare bones information and providing some kind of low-level content offer. Next up, you want to think about conversion points that are kind of mid-funnel. So someone that's maybe more interested in getting a demo with you, or kind of further down that buyer journey. And then finally, you want bottom funnel conversions, which would be purchasing if you're an e-com business, or maybe signing up for some kind of services. And as you move through the funnel, you should be asking for more and more relevant information about your buyer personas or those prospective customers. And this helps you kind of create a customer-focused approach to your sales process, which is really important. When you're creating forms, you want to make sure that you think through the titles and the headings of each part of the form as they pertain to the user's point of view, not to your internal point of view. So maybe you have some internal jargon and it doesn't really make sense from the customer perspective. Make sure you're updating those titles on the forms to really reflect the buyer's journey, because you always want to take a buyer's approach. So once you have your content, your user experience, and your conversion points dialed in, you need to get some traffic to come to your site, right? Like, we all want people, customers, buyer personas to come and explore. So there are many ways to drive traffic to your site, and we could talk about this for days. But we're just going to focus on SEO, organic social media, and paid advertising. We're going to take a 201 approach to this, so it's going to be a bit high level, but kind of a bit next level. So if you do have kind of questions about maybe some 101 tactics, please reach out to us and we can kind of fill in the gaps. So starting with SEO, which is search engine optimization, which I'm sure, raise your hand if you've heard of SEO before and know that it's important. Maybe throw your favorite emoji in the chat. Everyone's putting the same one, and is that the one that just like pops up automatically? Love that.
But I think that describes my general feelings around SEO.
Awesome. So SEO includes a series of content and technical tactics that help search crawlers, mostly Google, you might be on Bing, or other search platforms, find and categorize your content so it can show up in relevant searches. I'm sure most everyone here, if you have a question, you'll type it into Google. I have an 8-month-old baby, and whenever anything is wrong with him, I'm typing it into Google to get my answers. So obviously, SEO is really important. You can see some important stats up here. The biggest one I want to highlight is that 75% of searchers never go past the first page of search results. I know that I kind of fall in that category. Most of the time, I'm just looking for what comes up on the first page. So it's important. So how does this pertain to you folks, and how can we optimize SEO in a way that's maybe not overwhelming? And I know that time is really important for all of us. So starting out from a content perspective, which Hannah already touched on, but keywords are really important. So when you're creating that content that Hannah already talked about on your website, you want to make sure that you're keeping keywords in mind when you're writing copy and blogs. So you're going to want to start by setting up Google Search Console. It's free. It's really easy. It's a great tool. I know I'm going to talk about several tools here, but they are really important and free and easy to set up. So I'd highly recommend it. Google Search Console will kind of show you what keywords you are ranking for already, and then how many keyword searches are showing up for those keywords as well. A lot of times keywords like fitness are hard to rank for because they are really popular. So we're going to want to focus on long tail keywords, which are just those keywords or phrases that are more specific and usually longer, and they're more commonly searched for than those specific short keywords. So make sure you're prioritizing those when you're writing your content, instead of trying to rank for, say, fitness. You would want to try and rank for Knoxville women's workout programs. And then you want to make sure, like I said, that you're including those keywords in all of the copy that you're putting out across platforms, from your website to social media, really focusing in on dialing that keyword approach. Next up is link building, which is an important component of SEO. And when other websites link to your websites, search algorithms determine that you have authority in your industry because other brands are referring to you. So the higher your authority gets, the better your search rankings will be. So it's really important that you're focusing on link building. And here are some kind of top recommendations that we throw out there. Things like linking to other blogs on your blog, writing guest blogs, or writing or being featured in reviews are really great ways to start, and making sure that you're prioritizing link building at least once a month. So we talked about some of the content aspects of SEO, but there also are many technical aspects of SEO that we wanted to touch on here as well. So first off, starting with your website architecture, an optimized site architecture helps search engine spiders find and index all of your pages on your website. So the right website architecture makes it easier for visitors to find what they need on your site. So we really suggest creating a flat architecture, which means that users and search engine crawlers can reach any page on your site in 4 clicks or less. Next up are sitemaps. A sitemap is just a blueprint of your website that helps search engines find, crawl, and index all of your website's content. Sitemaps also tell search engines which pages on your site are most important. And it's really easy to just submit your sitemap to your Google Search Console. And most of the times, if you're using like a WordPress or Squarespace, they will actually create a sitemap for you, and you could submit it directly to the Search Engine Console. Finally, speed and security are extremely important for your SEO. So you want a fast loading website. It's really critical for search ranking and your user experience. I don't know how many of you maybe have been to a website and it loads really slowly. And then you kind of navigate away from that page because it's taking too much time. So page speed is just that amount of time that it takes for a web page to load. And a page's loading speed is really determined by lots of different factors, but some of the ones that we focus on is the site server, the page file size, and the image compression within the site. So make sure you spend some time looking at how quickly your pages are loading, and you can use a tool like Google PageSpeed to give you some insights around that. Next traffic source we're going to talk about is social media from an organic perspective. So I know that everyone said that when you thought about digital marketing, it seemed really overwhelming, and we totally hear you in that. So here, when we're talking about social media, we're going to kind of assume that you have a basic understanding of social media management. We could spend, again, 3 hours taking a deep dive into this topic specifically, but we're just going to give you a couple little tidbits here. And if you do have more specific questions or want a more kind of holistic look at managing the social media process, please email us. We'll give you our emails at the end, and we're happy to kind of send you some more information around that. But like we kind of mentioned, or like what kind of showed up in the general chat, is we all have a minimal amount of time, and that really is our most valuable asset. And so we really advise focusing on the platforms that your personas are most likely to be on. We talked about this in the beginning, but really creating those personas will help you zoom focus what your marketing efforts should be. And that's kind of what we preach across the board, is that really dialing in those personas helps you save a ton of time and maximize your results for the minimum amount of financial investment and time investment. So here we advise focusing on the channels that, like I said, your personas will show up on. And as Hannah mentioned, you want to create kind of that content that shows up on your website and then slightly tweak it out to make the most sense on the different platforms. Individuals are really looking for great content with great calls to action. And so making sure that you're including calls to action within each of your pieces of content on organic social. So another great thing about social media is it should be a conversation, and you don't just want to be pushing out content. You want to get involved with relevant conversations. So doing some keyword research to find some specific hashtags, doing some hashtag research to find some specific hashtags that your personas are interested in really makes a ton of sense, and is a really valuable part of your marketing strategy. Make sure you're focusing on specific hashtags and avoiding general unrelated hashtags with millions of mentions, as you'll get lost in the noise. It's really important to kind of make sure you're getting those specific hashtags in there. Then once you have kind of hashtags that you know your personas are talking and communicating about, make sure you follow those hashtags on Instagram, YouTube, and then get involved in those conversations by commenting and participating within those hashtag conversations to increase your engagement. Which brings us to prioritizing community management. So this kind of gets down to the one-on-one level, but we do want to reiterate it. Making sure that you're prioritizing daily engagement, spending 10 minutes every day, 15 minutes every day, maybe 30 minutes every day, depending on how much communication you have coming through your platforms, but making sure you're replying to all comments and direct messages within the very most 24 hours, but the faster the better. And we advise using a tool to help you aggregate all of the DMs and comments into one place. We recommend Sprout Social, but there are a lot of great platforms out there like Later and a bunch of other ones. So making sure that you are maximizing your time by aggregating all of those into one place. And then finally, when you're creating content, make sure that you're focusing on the purpose of every single piece of content. It should roll up to your high-level business goals. So each piece of content that you're posting should help either increase brand awareness, drive traffic to your site, or move an individual to a specific conversion. Finally, I'm going to touch on paid advertising. And again, this is just going to be at a pretty high level. So paid advertising on social and search is a really great way to help you reach a broader audience and is a lot more bang for your time investment. So we really advise kind of starting to focus on a paid advertising strategy once you have your content strategy dialed in, because you want to make sure that you are spending your budget wisely, because we all know that budgets are limited. And so once you have your content dialed in, then we can start paying for some advertising to drive more traffic to your site. So we advise focusing on the social channels that your personas are on. So if you are posting organically to LinkedIn and YouTube and Instagram, then that's where you should be spending your social advertising budget, and also prioritizing Google search ads as well. Google search makes a ton of sense because those are very qualified leads, because they're actually searching for that content. Whereas when you're pushing maybe some Facebook ads out, they're not necessarily searching for that content. We advise starting with a small budget and using a tool like the HubSpot ad budget estimator, which we'll have at the end of the presentation. It helps you calculate kind of based on some metrics like traffic to your site and your overall business goals of how much money you should be spending. There are also several tools out there to help you get started with paid advertising. Google has a ton of free courses. HubSpot has a ton of free courses, as does Facebook. But this actually may be a place where it does make sense to outsource to a freelancer or agency in terms of your time investment. We really advise, and we found as entrepreneurs and business owners that early on, we really wasted a bunch of time doing things that maybe took 10 times longer than it would to pay an expert to do it. So make sure you're kind of thinking through how long things are taking for you. And this might be an area that we would advise outsourcing. We also want to touch on, for those of you who are really in some very specific niches, and we all know that there are riches in the niches, considering some things like influencer advertising and podcasts are also a really great tool to reach some very specific niche audiences. And Hannah touched on this already, but we are huge on setting those key performance indicators. Those are just kind of goals that are specific to each of your marketing tactics, and reporting on them at an annual, quarterly, and monthly basis. It doesn't have to be hard or overwhelming to start with. Really wanting to focus on just a few quick numbers, maybe clicks, impressions, and conversions to start out with on each platform, and really looking at those numbers to see how they're helping you meet your overall business goals. You want to use reports to make optimizations and figure out what's working, where you should be spending your time, and what efforts you should abandon, because we all have said that our time is limited. Marketing seems overwhelming. And so if you do have a couple key performance indicators to look at every month, you can see if you're spending your time wisely and if it's actually helping you meet your goals. We advise using a reporting tool like Sprout Social or Google Data Studio to help you consolidate and automate reporting, so it really helps you maximize your reporting efforts. Again, I'm going to reiterate this, reporting is very important. So important that I would advise not doing any marketing, not posting on social media if you're not going to spend the time to maybe spend 15 minutes every month pulling some numbers and analyzing. It's really important that you are focusing on optimizations and improvement. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting your time. So make sure if you take anything away from this, that reporting really should be a priority. Here are those tools that I mentioned. Again, you can take a screenshot, and I know the slides will be available as well. And I think we have time for some questions. I think we went longer than we thought we were going to too, so we like to talk.
Same thing. Yes, we will definitely send out that content calendar template as well. But just if you want to go back to the tools page, all of those tools are really helpful, especially where we started with those buyer personas. I know someone had a question around how do I figure out who those buyer personas are? What platforms make the most sense to them? the buyer persona tool is really helpful. So if you have any questions, definitely put them in the Q&A section. I know we've got one here. What are some areas of your business you should absolutely not outsource? Ooh, that's a great question. Oh,
Oh my goodness. I would say that you should not. Go ahead.
Are we saying for marketing specifically, or just for our businesses in general?
I was going to speak generally.
Go for it. That's great.
Okay. I was going to say that some things that you should not outsource would be the things that you specifically are an expert in, and that your time is, they're not like a huge time suck. So for us, the things that we are experts in, we really focus on that. And then some things where we are not experts in, we'd outsource that. Hannah, can you speak specifically to maybe an example of that?
Yeah, I would say that the reason that you're trying to build something is you have a unique either perspective, experience, product, or insight. Try and figure out what that thing is. That's the non-negotiable. That's why people pay you money. And then if you can outsource the rest, amazing. If you can't, figure out how can I scale that into a place where I can bring someone in and maybe decrease the complexity of the product offering or the service offering so that someone else can do it as well.
Yeah. And especially when you're first starting out, you probably won't be outsourcing very much. But as you grow, continuing to evaluate, is this a good use of my time, or should I consider outsourcing it, is kind of the way that we approach it.
Jess, this one has 4 upvotes, so it means the people see it. Can you talk more about breaking up your long form content each week into smaller bits for social and tips for doing this without it being redundant?
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to steal this. This is stolen from someone that I heard at a conference maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But he talked about thinking about your pieces of content that perform the best, typically will bring in like your greatest revenue. So thinking about those pieces of content is what we would call unicorn content. And then thinking about how to make unicorn babies from that content. So you want to, that's kind of what we're getting at, is how do we make those unicorn babies? So what we recommend is thinking first about how the different types of content that you could create. So maybe you started and you had created a blog. It was an interview with someone. Can you convert that into an Instagram story video? Then can you convert that into an infographic? How can you change up the types of content that still have the same information? Then we also advise thinking through different ways in which you can pretty much change around the copy in order to bring new light to the same information. So an example of that might be if you received an award, maybe for, you were the #1 baker in Knoxville. How can you shed light on the award granting organization? As part of that, how can you shed light on what actually you did to receive the award? And then how can you shed light on maybe your expertise that got you to that award? And always referring to the award as part of it would be a way that I would kind of look at that. I like this upvote system. This is fun.
Yeah, definitely helps because we've got some awesome questions in here. Really quickly, the definition of organic posting. So organic posting is probably what you traditionally think of when it comes to social media. So that is putting something out on your social media profiles, is what we call organic posting. Advertising is when you see that sponsored content. So that'd be something like running an ad campaign or boosted content. So if that kind of helps give the distinguishment between organic and paid. Alex, definitely feel free to boot us out when it's time, but we'll just keep answering questions because you guys have great questions. Could you repeat what you said about spending 15 to 30 minutes doing what again? I would say it's probably reporting, right?
Yep. Focusing on reporting should take 15 to 30 minutes if you get the right tools in place.
Yep. And then start off with some report. Like if you do anything after leaving this summit today, get a baseline report and see where you are. Because like Jess was saying, we're huge believers in setting those key performance indicators. But if you don't even know where you are from a baseline perspective and you say, oh, I want a 40% engagement rate, which would be a miracle. But your current engagement rate is 1%, right? That's not what we would call a SMART goal because it doesn't have that R, that realistic. Hopefully everyone here is familiar with the term SMART goal setting, but run reports today if you haven't. Run reports on your website, on your emails, on your social media, and get that first baseline before you start setting some of those KPIs. Everybody wants to know about times/days of the week for most reach on social media posts. I would say it depends on the platform and depends on your customers. But there are definitely some great, like just general tips out there for sure. Just anything else there?
It's very, very specific to your niches. We can send out some like baseline best practices around that, but it really is, and kind of hopefully we alluded to this, but marketing and social media is all about testing. So it really is kind of testing different times to see when you are getting the most engagement. And that really comes down to that reporting factor. You wouldn't know that if you weren't reporting. So we're on the reporting train today.
Jess, there's a really good question about maximize large platform algorithms when small individual businesses in a major corporate keyword world.
Yeah, so I think that comes down to kind of two different things. So we touched on kind of those long tail keywords. So making sure you're including more specific keywords in your content, both on your website and on your social platforms. And then also making sure that you're prioritizing engagement and like following up with all of your comments in a timely manner. So you can really, so then the platforms and the algorithms are realizing that your content is really relevant and continue to push it through the platform. Another thing is making sure that you're creating shareable content, which is really, really important. So the more content that you can create that others are sharing, that will really help you stand out within the algorithms. So kind of making sure you prioritize those three things.
Jess, we're getting some Oscar music here, and it seems like it might be time to wrap up here. So we definitely want to give you guys time to talk at your tables. We will be at some tables as well for the next couple of minutes too. Definitely sign up for our expert office hours. We'd love to connect with you guys on a more one-to-one basis. But then will you kick it over to our contact info on the presentation? Feel free to email us, or you can visit our website, secondmilemarketing.com, and fill out the contact form, or you can email both or either of us directly. I am Hannah, HANNAH, at secondmilemarketing.com, and Jess is Jess at secondmilemarketing.com. We like to keep it simple. It's really easy to get in touch with us.
Thank you guys so much. It has been a pleasure to hang out with you. And we hope that you at least got one actionable takeaway from today. And we hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Bye.